Zombie Powder, Chapter 16. Flamediver. So yes, everybody, welcome back to my chapter-by-chapter reviews of Taito Kubo Sensei's first serialized manga, Zombie Powder. So, beginning with the B-side Naked Monkeys number 9, we're doing another featurette on 3 characters, so I like it when he does this because with one character it's always like a really long freaking paragraph, and I basically have to give you guys the abridged version because I don't want to read the whole thing before we're getting into the chapter. But when we do like little featurettes on like 2 or 3 people, he usually cuts it up a little bit, and these 3 are characters that really have no relevance to the plot whatsoever, and they're probably not going to make any more appearances. So the first one is Antonio Sacmandero. I kept saying Sacmandero. It's actually Sacmandero. So, whatever. He has an all but one sentence to define, well, I guess technically 2 sentences, to define exactly who he is. The Desert Gang Snow's group leader. Ooh, okay, is he related to Jon Snow? He's 28 years old with a wonderful hairdo. Yeah, that's quite an interesting hairdo here, and what's funny here is Kubo writes in, like, exclamation points with a question mark, like, 28 years old, but then right underneath that, as if, like, that was the big thing, like, holy shit, he's 28, I did not know that guy was 28. Sideburns, that manly, thought he was at least 32, but underneath that, in, like, small script, like, it's not a big deal, he just writes, by the way, he's a virgin. I'm like, okay, first off, no surprises there. Like, yeah, girls, you want to have a piece of that every day, I'm sure. But the funny thing here that I always have to look back on is that this is Kubo writing this. It's funny because the Kubo that we know today, the one that I look at Bleach every single week and I talk about him and I kind of have a hang on what he's exactly doing and I kind of understand the way and the methods that Kubo does stuff now because I've been reviewing, Bleach for the past 3 years. I got an understanding of him. Back then though, he's a completely different guy. Like, just think of if you did character profiles for characters from Bleach and he just threw that one little line of dialogue in, like he's doing Uryu Ishida, he's the last Quincy, he's this tall, he's this much weight, and he's this age, he goes to Karakura High School, by the way, he's a virgin. It would just be weird, it would be out of place. It's probably true, but it's out of place. So anyway, moving on, we have Sandra Silverstone. Sounds like she belongs in a soap opera. She's 24 years old, and she was the chick that was tortured in Calder's Base. And Kubo writes here that this was the girl that was saved from Calder's Base. I remember that her torture scenes in Volume 1 took a lot of work to get it right. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's very difficult to convey. I mean, I suck at drawing. My extent is like stick figure. Well, you've seen the extent of my drawing skills. But the more difficult thing is not just drawing somebody like a character, but drawing that character to be in a lot of agony or a lot of pain or a lot of duress. That's probably another skill altogether, so pretty neat there. And the last one is Nina Blouse. Oh, do you get it? Last name, Blouse. It's spelled like something else, but it means blouse. She is 6 years old. She was the little kid that was seen in like 2 chapters with the doctor. She's just kind of like hanging out at the hospital, I guess, and she's like a frequent patient. The doctor is just kind of watching out for her. She's 6 years old, and she's a little girl that lives with Mr. Roscoe, and she likes stuffed toys. Yeah, name one 6-year-old that doesn't like stuffed toys. She's an orphan, that's kind of sad, and she has a disease where the color of her retina changes frequently, and Kubo has a little side note that says, no idea what the correct term for this disease is. I think isn't it called heterochromia, or heterochromia iridium, or something like that? I used to be into the whole crazy, weird disease things, but not so much anymore. But I think it's heterochromia. Although, I think heterochromia is just, like, both eyes are different colors, or both eyes are partially different colors. I don't think is there an actual disease where it changes colors? Like, one day you wake up with blue and red, and the next day you wake up with green and brown. I'm like, I don't know if that's how that works. But anyway, moving on, so we get into the actual chapter here, and I was a little surprised because I thought, I figured that they were going to do, like, the chapter-by-chapter deals with the fights with Gamma and Smith and Elwood, because, Gamma had his fight with the Waffle last chapter, and that was pretty epic, but it lasted, like, about as long as you'd figure Gamma to take down the fight count, because he has to go fight Mystic. So I figured the next chapter would be Smith, and then we'll kind of, like, bringing up the rear with Elwood, because Elwood's the one that we're, like, we know Smith's gonna win. Like, we know Smith's gonna kick ass. We knew Gamma was gonna kick ass. Elwood's the one just like, maybe if he fights against a really weak dude, he might actually manage to hurt him, but it's the kind of guy you don't have a lot of confidence in, because every fight that Elwood's never been in a legitimate fight and won. He's been in fights, but he's always lost, or he's had to have Gamma save him. So anyway, this chapter, we open up with Wolfina chasing after the magic train. She's racing on her motorcycle. Just come on just a little bit longer, we can get there. So she's catching up to that. When we cut over to the title page, where we have ZBPD, sounds like a police department from Zimbabwe, I don't know. Anyway, we have Elwood at the very bottom, and he's dressed in a really cool, like, long collar jacket type thing with his big fat Starjack hanging out. Cannot say that with a straight face anytime, ever. Anyway, so we cut back over to the big top, the tent, where the Gamma and his crew were holed up and kind of got blocked in. And we have Gamma after defeating Quaffle. It's apparent, like, the row that he was locked into, it doesn't change the pillars. Like, the pillars are still up, dividing him from Smith and Elwood. But we see in the very, like, bottom right-hand corner, there's, like, the little entrance is kind of opening up, so he's allowed to leave the tent. He just can't go help the others. So he tries to use his chainsaw sword to cut out this, like, the wall. And he's just like, I figured this stuff's not made out of something that can be cut very easily. It's like made out of some sort of clay or some sort of semi-permeable substance. It's like some kind of jelly. Like, you can't actually cut through it with his sword. So he just looks up and he's just like, well, I'm not going to be able to cut through this, and I gotta go fight Mystic. I don't have time to sit around here. I'm sure if he used, like, some really high-octane Karin Zanjutsu move, he'd be able to break through this, but he probably wants to reserve his energy, because first he has to catch up to the train, which is probably going to take a lot of energy right there in itself, and then he has to actually fight Mystic, who Gamma admits, yeah, Mystic is a fair, match for me, so he doesn't want to waste a lot of time on this, so he just kind of looks up at the wall, and he's just like, well, it's the path you chose. Just show me that you could stay alive. So he's, like, referring to Elwood here. So then we cut over back to Elwood, see what he's up to. He's being strangled. Yeah, so that's about right. He's being strangled by yet another guy who is wearing the same kind of cloak that Waffle was wearing last chapter. The only difference with this area is that there's like a bunch of candles or torches like lighting the side of the hallways. So he's holding this to Elwood up, and this guy's like huge. This guy's like easily like 6-7 feet tall, and he like throws Elwood to the ground, and he's just like, damn it, I don't have any luck. I ended up with a little squirt like you. I wanted to fight Akatabe Gamma. So he throws him on the ground and he removes his cloak, revealing the fact that he is named Pyromania Pounder. He is the fire dancer of the circus. And I'm like, ooh, fire dancer! This is going to be fucking awesome! And it kind of is, yeah. So he states that it's funny because under normal circumstances, a lot of the bad guy in this situation fighting against a real weakling, there's really two ways he could look at it. He could look at it like, you're not even worth my time, you scum. I'm just going to go off and do something else. Or there's another situation where there's like, oh, well, I'm not going to let all the other, circus performers think that I'm weak because I took my sweet time beating your ass down, so I got to finish you off right away. You'd figure if he wants to finish him off, like, right away, I mean, he had him strangled. Elwood was clearly not being able to do anything. He was just like, tap out, I can't breathe. So he could have just, like, crushed his throat right there and just been done with it, like crushed his freaking carotid artery, but whatever. He throws him on the ground. He shows his badass appearance. He's got, like, these three, actually, there's, like, four, it's weird to describe. I'll show the image, but I'll try to describe it the best I got. He's got 4 oil tanks, all connected like on a harness around the top of his, along his torso. And on his back, he seems to have like these two, like stick things protruding out from him. And the real show though is his hair. He's got a huge glass dome, also that contains oil covering his afro, or kind of like his mohawk type deal. So it's like his hair's floating in oil. That is terrible, terrible for your hair, dude. You do not want to take a bath in oil every day, but whatever, he throws it down, and I'd be remiss to not mention the comparison to Kaname Tozen from Bleach, so there you go. The guy kind of looks like Kaname Tozen from Bleach, especially with the goggles on. Anyway, he pulls out the 2 staff things from the back, and it turns out they're not really staffs or anything. They're actually giant freaking matches, and he turns them around, and he takes these 2 long, like, strike air, like, I don't know what they're called, like on the matches they're called, like, strikes, but whatever. He has these, like, strike panels on his side, and he just, like, whooshes them down around and ignites these few matches. He's just shouting, hey man, the fire dance is gonna get started. And I'm like, okay, if you want to intimidate somebody, that's the best way to do it. I mean, you could just show like a scary face, like I'm gonna beat your ass, like the Waffle dude with his appearance. This guy has 2-foot giant matches on his back that he strikes with these huge panels on his pants, and he ignites them in these huge fireballs like he's holding, and is like, we're ready to get started. So apparently there's also like a mouth bit in his harness where he blows into that shoots the oil out, and he holds the match up, so when he shoots the oil out, the flames catch fire on the oil. So whenever he breathes outward, he's emitting a plume of, like, boiling, flaming oil at people. So that's kind of also kind of ripping off Naruto there. But, wait, was Naruto around at this time, 1990? Yeah, you know what? It was, but this wasn't the point when in the story when they did the whole, like Toad oil bomb or shit. So Zombie powder, I'm calling it. You were first there. Anyway, Elwood tries to dodge the fire. He actually does a pretty good job considering it's fire. It's not like a gun where you can just dodge the bullet and then you're good. This is oil that is combustible, that is on fire, that is, landing in an area, and anything that it touches is also going to catch on fire. So Elwood's actually doing a pretty good job at dodging this. But unfortunately, he didn't realize that not only does he have to dodge the fire and the oil, he also has to dodge Pounder, who is also moving around, and he appears behind Elwood. He kicks him in the back, and he knocks him down. And, he's just like, dude, you're wasting my oil. Don't scuttle around like that. So he's just like, dude, once again, you could have just strangled him, no problem, but now you're wasting all your oil on this guy. Well, Elwood stands back up and he throws his 2 knives at Pounder, the new ones he has. They have one has a design of a lightning bolt on it, and the other one has a feather. So these are obviously the new knives he picked up at Alcantara. So he manages to nail Pounder with the 2 knives right here on his shoulder. See, he was able to get a decent distance in the previous chapter when he used them, but this time Pounder's really close to him, so there's no excuse why shouldn't hit this guy. But, Pounder's just like, oh man, that kind of hurts. But, I'm sure it hurts, but at the end of the day, he hit his shoulder. It wasn't really a critical point. See, that's the problem with throwing knives, is it's really one of those kind of weapons or kind of battle tactics where it can be really effective, but you have to be a master at it. It's like nunchucks. Every little kid, everybody thinks they're badass if they have a pair of nunchucks. And oh yeah, bring it on. And then you use 2 seconds, whack yourself in the face. Nunchucks, well, first off, are not meant to be, offensive weapons. They're supposed to be used defensively to kind of keep your opponent, away from your space. But they take a lot of skill to use effectively. Anybody that just picks up a pair of nunchucks is going to, they're going to fail at life, unless they train really, really hard. Same thing with throwing knives. You got to figure, not only do you have to throw the knife in a good trajectory to actually hit your opponent, pointy side up, but you also have to hit a point on their body that's actually going to cause damage, like the neck or the skull. It's not exactly going to be, unless they throw it really freaking hard, it's not going to penetrate. The skull's pretty damn thick, so unless the knife's really razor sharp, even if he hits his head right here, it might not go all the way through to his brain, but, like I said, you have to have really good freaking accuracy. Your agility has to be through the roof to use throwing knives in combat effectively to want to actually kill or defeat an opponent just by throwing knives at them. Because even how Elwood's really good at using it, you're only nailing him in the shoulder and the legs and the arms. That ain't gonna really do anything to slow him down for the long term, unless you hit a major artery or something. But anyway, Elwood stands back up at his reserve, and he's resolved really intense. He's just like, you're not gonna be beating me down here. And then Pounder immediately proceeds just to walk up and just pound the sucker right into the freaking dirt. That was a back for Gamma, because that the first chapter, Elwood just walks up and clocks Gamma in the face, and now we have Pounder doing it to Elwood, knocks him to the ground, and he's just like, I'm Akutabe Gamma's partner, and he's just like, partner? Don't you mean servant? Partner implies that you have equal amount of power. I don't know who the hell you are, kid, but there's no way you have equal power to freaking Akutabe Gamma. I don't know why the hell he's carrying you around, but he doesn't view you as a damn partner. And he's just like, I'm right, am I not right? And Elwood's on the ground, probably bleeding, probably broken, for a couple of teeth missing on the ground. He's just thinking back to the flashback whenever they were leaving the inn, whenever they were heading to the hospital to kind of confront Wolfina. Apparently Smith and Gamma were just going to go by themselves. They were going to leave Elwood behind. And Elwood just kind of speaks up, and he's just like, wait, what are you doing? You're leaving me behind? And Gamma's like, damn straight, I'm leaving you behind. These enemies that we are fighting are not even close to the level that we've been fighting up to now. And every time that you've been in a fight, I've had to come save your ass. But no, I'm not going to come. I'm not going to bring you. And Elwood's just like, oh, no, don't worry. It's okay. I'll be fine. You're probably not aware of this. Gamma trails off and says, no, I'm aware. You've been sneaking out every night for the past month, and you've been training with your throwing knives. So fucking what, Elwood? You're a little bit better at throwing knives. You're a little bit better at hitting targets from a little bit further distance. These are guys that have really crazy magic powers. Those things aren't going to do dick for him. And Smith is just kind of sticking up for Elwood. He's just kind of like, well, it's okay if we take him, right? And he's like, Smith, no, it's not. And he's just like, well, the kid's obviously able to survive so far. This argument actually gets to the point where Gamma just, had enough and just holds up his freaking sword right in Elwood's face and just says, okay, listen, it is time for you to nut up or shut up. You say you can deal with the enemy by yourself. That means you can beat an enemy by yourself. That means I don't have to babysit you. That means that Smith doesn't babysit you. If you realize that and you decide that you're a man and you can fight on your own 2 feet, then yeah, you can come with us, but if you don't want to, if you're not thinking like that, if you don't think you can win, if you actually are not prepared to die here, then go back to the hotel and just wait for us. And Elwood obviously decided to come along with them. He decided that, you know what, I'm a man, I can do this, I'm prepared to fight, I'm prepared to accept the possibility of death. So he comes, that's what Gamma said at the beginning of the chapter. He's like, it's the path you chose. You know, you're traveling with me, but you're an adult now. I mean, he's 13, but he's an adult in the essential sense. He has to think like an adult. So he's sitting there with freaking getting curve stomped by Pounder, and he's just like, that was my own will. And he just like grabs a freaking knife from his belt or something, and he just like jabs it right in freaking Pounder's ankle. And I was like, okay, that would hurt. That was a little bit painful. So he rises up and he's like backs up a little bit, and he's just like, God damn, that hurt. So he stands up and he's all triumphant. He's bleeding out of his mouth, you know, whatever, already got like socked in the face. And he's just like, you say that, oh, I'm Gamma's partner, therefore I should call for help. But since I am his partner, I'm not gonna call for any damn help because I could do this myself. So he's just looking at him, just like, you damn brat. I'm gonna like deep fry you so fast. So he holds up his matches. He knights again. He blows the freaking oil, sending it at Elwood. Now, I'm not sure exactly how this works because even with the manga physics at hand here, I'm still a little bit sketchy on how exactly this functions, okay? So, he's facing down, flaming oil coming directly at him, okay? Which is a liquid, and he runs into the fire, takes off his jacket, which I guess is freaking flame-proof, is insulated by like 3 layers or some shit, and he throws the jacket in front of himself like a shield, and manages to jump directly close to Pounder's face. And he just, like, swats the fire away. I mean, I guess you could say the oil, you know, clung to the jacket and he just swung it away. But his hands aren't even burned. Like, he manages to do all of this without getting, like, any burns on his body. Or any burns he gets are very, very minimal. And it's just like, dude, any other situation, you would be freaking deep-fried crispy bacon right now, okay? That's no other excuse. But anyway, he lands right on Pounder's head. And then he throws his freaking clothing on his head. And he's just like, oh, get off me, your freaking pants are hot. So he chucks him off his head. And I guess he just thinks that, oh, you know, whatever, that was some stupid trick he tried. So he tries to blow the oil out again. But it turns out that he's actually missing the capsule on his head that had all of his oil. And it turns out that Elwood, expert pickpocket, manages to steal all of the oil tanks he had, empty them out, and now we have an oil trail from Elwood leading all the way back to Pounder, and he has the flaming freaking jacket in his hand, and he's just looking at it just like, wait for it, wait for it. It's like right out of that one Bleach episode where Uryu just nukes Styleporo, like he sets up that big elaborate Springer technique, and he doesn't do it right away. He just gives him time to examine exactly the situation, like, wait, oh, fuck, and then Elwood just drops the damn jacket, lands, and just boom! He's just freaking ignited like, oh my god, I hate fire! That was funny. That was pretty funny, the whole I hate fire thing. And that's how the chapter ends, with Pounder going up in freaking flames. And, so yeah, that's the end. Elwood managed to do it. Elwood managed to stand on his own 2 feet. He managed to beat a main opponent. Maybe define the laws of physics and how, you know, combustion works and everything, but aside from that, we're all good. We're all good with that, right? It's okay. He could break the laws a little bit. Elwood deserved a victory. It's 16 chapters. We're over halfway into this series left. Next chapter will be, like, 10 from next chapter will be the end, so I'm glad he got at least 1 victory in, although that makes me also kind of sad because that might mean that this might be actually Elwood's only legitimate victory in the entire series, but it was a good one. It was a good one. He had a cool flashback, you know, about Gamma telling him, you know, time to man up here, you got to do this, you know, and he managed to do it at the end of the day, so I'm really proud of Elwood's character development there. Huge burst. Next chapter, I'm assuming we're just going to get Smith's fight, so I know Smith is going to win, obviously, but maybe we'll get a little bit more insight to how he exactly fights a main opponent, because all the opponents he's fought up until now were just kind of fodder, because in Colder, in the Colder arc, in the Ash Daughter arc, the main enemy was taken out by Gamma. We didn't really have anybody for Smith to fight. It was mostly just like the random thugs and everything, so I'm thinking to see how Smith's going to handle a main opponent here, like one of the stronger ones, and I'm also interested in exactly what aspect of the circus this is going to embody. Maybe like the knife thrower. That would be, actually no, Elwood should have fought the knife thrower if there was going to be a knife thrower, so I guess there isn't. Maybe like a trapeze artist or some shit, I don't know. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Tekking101, signing out.